All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in this lesson, all right, I just finished watching this video that was done by the elder brother Amawan Gabar. As you can see, at the screen, a very good video. Definitely go check it out. And he was pretty much going into um, the married and the unmarried sisters, and especially for the married ones concerning the profile, having your a picture of yourself, on your profile icon for your YouTube handler and so on and so forth. And he covered that, so like I said, you can definitely go watch that. But what I want to deal with is something slightly different, however, inspired by the lesson. Okay, and that's mainly dealing with Matthew, the 5th chapter and the 28th verse, what Yahweh Shai said. Okay, so let's just go to it real quick. So it is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 28. And, the thing is that, and especially in this society, see, there's a reason why the scriptures tell women to dress in modest apparel. Okay, because the way the Lord set up a woman, all right, and a man, the interaction between the two, men love women and women love men. At least that's the way it's supposed to be. But now when you deal with a man and a woman, there's, the Lord made it in a way where there's certain things about a woman, namely her beauty, that attract men and that prompt a desire, okay, within a man when he looks or gazes upon a maid. Okay. So, her ass, her chest area, okay, her face, her body, her hair, the way she walks, whatever it is. Okay, but there's a reason the Lord, if you notice, women generically have that. Women have breasts, they have ass, they have, hair, longer hair. There's a generic design for women, and there's different variations of that. Some skin complexion looks different, some thicker than others, different body types, but nevertheless there's that generic woman appearance. Okay, and the Lord did it that way because when a man looks upon a woman that looks good to him, that desire arouses or arises. Okay, now that desire, and want and all of that, those are deeds or attributed to the flesh. Because when you're in the spirit world, you don't have that, that desire. Okay, it's when you're on the earth in the flesh that you have that desire. And what do we know about the flesh? We know that when it comes to the flesh, the body or the flesh does not, the flesh is not disciplined. Okay, so the flesh gets desire, it desires regardless. All right. Your flesh does not look at a woman and say, oh, she got a man, so I ain't going. That's your spirit. That's your mind. All right. You discipline your body and you lock it down, all right, with that discipline. But the flesh knows no boundaries when it comes to that. So there's a natural reaction within a man when he sees a woman that looks good. And that's like the elder brother was going into in the video. That's why you don't want to, because you may have a picture on, okay, and you may not have any ill intentions with it, but the way human interaction works, men have a mind of men and women have a mind of women, and we, in this truth, we discipline ourselves. Okay, nevertheless, that's just how it works. Okay, so in order, and that's why the Lord has rules and laws and boundaries to regulate that, so that you don't you avoid things like adultery, and whether in the physical or in the mind. So we're going to deal with that in Matthew 5 and 28. And in this society, they don't promote that. Okay. In this society, adultery is heavily promoted because it doesn't stop. There's nothing put in place, no mechanisms, no laws put in place to stop the seed of adultery from being planted. So what do I mean by the seed of adultery? Well, that's what Yahushua was speaking of here in Matthew the 5th chapter, because the seed of adultery gets planted into the person's mind when they gaze upon that maid, okay, and they don't have discipline. All right, they don't discipline them. Oh, she's a married woman, so let me not look at her. All right, especially if you're like, well, if I look, I'm gonna think something, so let me not look at her. But when that discipline is not there, remember, your flesh will not say, oh, she's a married woman, so let me not look. No, your flesh is gonna, your blood is gonna rush, your mind is gonna think, okay, and naturally, and that's going to propel those that are ungodly, those that have no control, those that are given to the lust of the flesh, to act upon that seed, to water that seed that's been planted, to nurture it, to let it grow and to bear fruit. Now, what do you think the fruit of the seed of adultery is? The act of adultery. Okay, because adultery is a, I don't want to say a concept, but in essence, that's what it is. Okay, adultery is adultery. It's when a man sleeps with another man's woman, a married woman, okay, or when a married woman sleeps with a man that is not her husband. Okay, that is adultery. So regardless of where that action or that scenario plays out, that scenario itself is adultery. So with that being said, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 28. It says, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So let's dissect this a bit. Let's first look at the word looketh. Okay. And in the Greek, it says plebo. It says plebo. And the definitions here says to see, discern of the bodily eye, with the bodily eye, to be possessed of sight. So to look with your eyes. Now, for definition C, it says to turn the eyes to anything, to look at, look upon, gaze at, and that's the word right there, to gaze. Okay, now when you gaze, you're not just looking, you're staring with, with some thoughts in mind. All right. And when you look up the definition, it tells you, just look up the word gaze definition. It says, look steadily and intently, especially in admiration, surprise, or thought. So when you gaze at someone or something, you're looking, but there's a whole lot going on in your mind based on what you're looking at. Okay? You're looking and things are coming into your mind based on what you are seeing. So let's keep going. Now it says here, metaphor, to see with the mind's eye, and definition C says to turn the thoughts, right? To turn the thoughts or direct the mind to a thing, right? To consider, contemplate, to look at, to weigh, carefully examine. So the key part we're looking at here is to turn the thoughts or direct the mind to a thing. So when you look, like, yeah, like the Lord said, he that looketh upon, um whosoever looketh upon a woman to lust after her. So if you look or you gaze upon a woman, and through that gazing you have these thoughts, right? These thoughts that come into your mind, and that's why it says to lust after her, because you may look at a woman and your mind may start thinking things, but those things may not be lustful things, right? You may look at a woman and in your mind you may be looking at her, but in your mind you're thinking, damn, that's disgusting. She's completely out of order. This is repulsive, right? So that's why the Lord specified, he that looketh upon a on a woman to lust after her, meaning where you're turning your mind to or where you're turning your thoughts to are lustful, all right, desirous, okay? And we know what kind of desires a man has concerning a woman. That's a given. Nobody needs to explain that to you. A dude doesn't look at a woman and starts thinking, "Damn, I really want to paint her nails for her." Or I'd kill to trim her fingernails or clip her toenails, to wash her feet. That's not what people. Well, it's not what a man thinks about when he looks after a woman to lust after her. So now it says that whosoever looketh on a woman to gaze, to stare with thoughts and intent, and those intents being lustful after her, hath committed. Now here's you got to pay attention to this part. It says, hath committed adultery with her already in his heart meaning his mind, meaning that those thoughts you had were of, because what is adultery? Adultery is unlawful sexual acts, right? And it's unlawful because it's with another man's woman, okay, or vice versa, and dealing in the perspective of a woman. But right now we're speaking in the perspective of a man. So when you commit adultery with a woman, what are you doing? You're engaging in sexual activity with the woman, but the difference is that she has a husband already. So when whosoever looks on a woman and has these lustful thoughts has what? Has committed in his mind those thoughts that he has, those are adulterous thoughts. Now, how can he commit adultery with her already if it's not physical? Because adultery, whether in the mind or physical, adultery is not defined by where it takes place necessarily, but it's more so what it is. That's why I mentioned earlier about, for lack of a better word, it being like a concept, right? Adultery, wherever it plays out, adultery is adultery. If you're watching a cartoon and in the cartoon, a man sees a woman who is with another man, but he labors to try and get her. And then she, goes with it. And then behind her husband's back, she's, getting snowplowed by this other man. Even though it's a cartoon, what do you call that? Adultery, right? And then now the same thing might play out in real life. What do you call that? Adultery. And then the same scenario might play out in your mind. What do you call that? Adultery. So, regardless of whether it's in your mind or it's on the screen or it's in person, adultery is adultery. Okay? So that's why it says here, and that's what the Lord is saying here, that he hath already committed adultery with her in his heart. Now, when a man looks upon a woman and thoughts come to mind, the thoughts are directed by what he sees. Okay? What he sees. So if you look on a woman, right, and she's big, what I mean, she doesn't smell good, her hair is all messed up, her teeth are all, messed up, she's aggressive, she's like a shaved gorilla, right? I'm just giving an example's sake. When you look on her or you look at her, you're not gonna have lustful thoughts based on what you're seeing. You're gonna be like, oh nah, and you know what will happen? You'll look away quick. If let's say there was an experiment done, between how long men stare at women, or how long would a man gaze at a woman. Now you put a woman that looks fine as hell, you know, I mean shit, right? Nice body, face, everything. She looks fine as hell, and you put her in provocative clothing, immodest apparel. And then you have another woman who fits the description I just described, big, shaved gorilla, bald head, unappealing, right? If you put both of them there, maybe dudes walking down the street and, a social experiment and both women walk by, it is guaranteed that, or, more likely than none, that a man is going to spend more time, his gaze is going to be longer if the woman he's looking at is the appealing woman, than if the woman he's looking at is unappealing. Why? Because the appealing woman, he's looking at her, more things are going on in his mind. Damn. Oh my gosh. Like, damn, is that shit even natural? And that's why you have situations where a dude might get into a car accident because he, instead of looking at the road in front of him, he's looking at the cheeks on the side crossing the street, right? Or a dude might be walking and they say you break your neck, right? So she walks past him, and along with her walks, his head is turning, so he's not paying attention to what's in front of him, and he turns around and smacks right dab into a pole. You know. Now, if he was looking at the other woman that was repulsive, his mind wouldn't have anything to lust after. So that gaze will be real quick. You know, he might look, oh, nah, and then just turn around and keep on going real quick, right? So that is why the scriptures tell you to dress in modest apparel. Don't dress in a provocative way, because it's a natural reaction in men that see women that look good to have a desire, right? To have a desire. But now, if that badass woman is not wearing something revealing, then what is he going to desire? There's nothing to look at, right? When a dude looks at a woman and he starts having thoughts, well, what is he looking at? He's looking at her ass, the way it's jumping about, the way it's clapping together, the place where two oceans meet, right? The jiggles, he's looking at her face, the way she's walking. What she's wearing is it's putting emphasis on her body. And that emphasis is catching his eyes, and that's causing desire, right? Because it's the nice body and the nice face and all that. That's what catches a man's eye. So if you're wearing something that highlights those things, what do you think is going to happen when you walk out in public, out into the world with men? That's gonna catch their eye. But if you're dressed in a way where you can't really see anything, it's not revealing, then even if he looks at you for a quick second, his thoughts are not going to be fueled by what he sees, in a lustful way, because there's nothing that you're giving him to lust after. You see, and that's why, and that prevents what? The adultery in the mind. And they've done social experiments on that. Because if he sees a woman covered up, he can't see nothing. If you look at, for example, how these Ishmaelite women or these Elamite women cover up, and they wear the long, thing where you can't see any figure, you can't see any of that. She might walk past you, you might not even notice her. You might not even notice her, but that's good. Because there's nothing to look at. There's nothing to get excited over. There's nothing to, damn, what's that shit? You see how loose that garment was? My goodness. That's a nice, no. And that prevents this Matthew 5:28. Because Matthew 5:28, now here's the thing about it. Women walk about dressed all crazy, but it's not like you could just look at a woman and just automatically know, oh yeah, she got a man. Some might have a ring on. You might look at the hand first, she got a ring. But then what if she does have a man, but she just didn't put her ring on that day? Right? What if she's not married? Like, she doesn't have a ring on her finger. What if there's no indicator that she has a man? And that's the thing that's messed up about this society. But now, if all of them dress modestly, then it doesn't matter if she got a man or not. You wouldn't have to fall into this trap of having certain thoughts in your mind, because you know what? We're in the flesh, so we don't walk around saying we just want to have any thoughts. But there's points where you don't even necessarily control your thoughts, because demons throw certain things into your mind, and it's involuntary, and you got to rebuke those thoughts right away. But guess what? Even before you rebuke those thoughts, they've already been in your mind. You've already thought them, even though it was involuntary. Okay? Even if it was for a split second, it's already been in your mind. And those demons take advantage of that. All right? Now from here, I want to go to another precept, because you might say, well, but that's in his mind. He didn't grab, you know what I'm saying? He didn't grab her and physically put his hand on her, but the scriptures tell us in the book of Proverbs 24, verse 9. It says, Proverbs 24, verse 9, the thought of foolishness is what? Is sin. And the scorner is an abomination to men. So let's look up, let's see if we can get anything here from foolishness. All right. That looks like awalaf. It says foolishness, folly, silliness, the same as H191. What is that? Oh, look at that. One who despises wisdom, right? So let's tie this in. The thought of foolishness, and when you look up the foolishness here, one of the definitions also is one who despises wisdom. Now, is there not a precept that says, let's go back to the blue letter, um, lacketh understanding. Let's see if that comes up. There we go. Proverbs 6 and 32. So now we're going to tie this in. Okay, we're going to tie this in and make perfect sense of it. So Proverbs 6 and 32 says, but whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. So understanding is a form of wisdom, because when you fear the Lord, what is the beginning of wisdom? The fear of the Lord. And with that wisdom, you it comes understanding. You got to have understanding to be able to fully apply wisdom, because wisdom is the proper application of what? Knowledge and understanding. So if you have wisdom, then by default you have some level of understanding. And if you lack understanding, then you don't really have a high level of wisdom. So why am I saying this? Well, Proverbs 6 and 32, whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding, right? And when you go back to Proverbs 24 and 9, it says here, one of the definitions of fool or foolish is one who despises wisdom. Well, if you despise wisdom, then you lack understanding. Okay. So as it says, when we read the precept, it said that, let's let it load up. Okay, Proverbs 24 and 9, the thought of foolishness, okay? Or in other words, one that despises wisdom or one that lacks understanding is sin. So if you're committing adultery in your mind, you lack understanding. That's an example of a thought of foolishness. And that is what? That is sin. See? So even wicked thoughts are sin. It says, and the scorner is an abomination to men. All right. And this is why the scriptures tell you to give your mind wholly, right? WHOLLY to the ways of the Lord. Because here's another point that I want to make. When you if you are if your mind is in a serious place, it doesn't matter if the woman is, she looks all whatever she looks like in front of you. Your mind is not there right now. So you ain't gonna get aroused, you're not gonna think lustful thoughts or any of that. And what's an example? Okay. Um, say there's a famine, you haven't eaten for maybe 4 or 5 days, right? And you see a woman dressed all provocatively, tight ass yoga pants and shit. She look good as hell. You're not going to be in the state of getting aroused. No, because your mind is not there. Your mind is heavily concentrated on what? On the fact that you haven't eaten and you hungry as shit. So her coming to you trying to seduce you, that's the last thing you're thinking about. Or when you're in pain. When you're in pain, your mind, once again, is drawn to something that's taking up more of your attention. Your mind is more focused on something else. So it doesn't matter how attractive she is. You in pain, that's not what you're thinking about right now. You're thinking about that pain. Or when you're afraid. When you're afraid, it doesn't matter what she looked like. That fear has control of your mind so strong that you're not thinking anything concerning how good she looks. So what does all of that have to do with this? Well, the same way fear and hunger and pain can grab hold of your mind so much that you don't even notice the woman is there trying to seduce you. Well, what do you think has grabs your mind even more? The ways of the Lord. So if you are meditating on the ways of the Lord, if you are, giving up your mind to the ways of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shine, and your mind is occupied, by prophecy, by the scriptures, by holy thoughts, then your mind is gonna be so occupied that most of the time you may see women walk past you, but your mind is not there. You're not even giving them the time of the day to even turn around and see, damn, that shit is moving mountains over there, to where now your focus is broken and your focus is looking over there, and then that leaves room for, if she has a man, these thoughts can come into your mind. But if your mind is focused on, I give you this, if you woke up or you were walking down the street, right? You're walking down the street and maybe there's a parade going on and you got women all popping out and shit, jumping around, showing all manner of things, right? On a regular day, you walk, you're like, damn, what the fuck, what's going on? Shit, right? But say as you're walking down the street, you check your phone and you see a notification. Maybe brothers are sending you messages and it says, yo, they just dropped, I don't know, Russia just got bombed, or half of Europe just made the MOTB mandatory, or the U.S. Biden says that next week, or I don't know, next couple of days they're looking at making, I don't know, the MOTB mandatory. Now I'm not speaking, I'm just speaking for example's sake. Now, if you saw something like that, I'm pretty sure that even if there's a badass woman in front of you, your mind ain't even gonna be focused on that. You're gonna be filled with such joy and excitement that, whoa, what do you see prophecy that she's gonna be non-existent to you because your mind is somewhere else. Okay, so the point that I'm making is, in this society, women, they haven't been taught from a youth up to be dressed, in a modest apparel. And so we are in this world and we have to suffer these things. But there are little things that we can do that can, avoid us falling into these situations. All right. And that's why I gave the example about where your mind is. If your mind is constantly meditating on things that are more important, the ways of the Lord, then the chances of you getting caught in a situation where you find yourself lusting after a woman when you don't, maybe she has a man or you don't know if she has a man or not, will be fewer, because your mind is more focused on something more important, something more serious, right? And as for the women, like the elder brother was saying, you know, to cover yourself up so you don't give occasion for a man that's not your husband to look at you, and then he ends up guilty of Matthew 5:28, where he's left lusting after you based on what he's seeing, or he's judging you based on your appearance. All right. So now with those two precepts done, I have a few here. They're not in any particular order. I just typed in some keywords and they popped up. So they're in the Apocrypha, and I'm just gonna go through. I'm just gonna go through them briefly, and Lord's willing, I'll make a few points on them, and then I'll wrap it up. So starting off with this is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus 36:22. It says, "The beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better." And that's a given. That this is how we were created, right? Women are attractive to us because that is how a man was created. Now, there's certain things about a woman that are attractive to any man. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yes, that is true. But everybody has their own standard of beauty, and yet there's still a generic beauty standard that people have. You may, oh, I'm into her. Well, oh, she cute. Or she got a nice yada yada, or there, whatever it is. The beauty of a woman cheereth the countenance, and a man loveth nothing better. So naturally, men love the beauty of women. Men love beautiful women. So if a man loves a beautiful woman, then there's sign that it goes further than that, and you want to avoid situations that are unlawful progression of this man loving nothing better. Okay, and that's why I listed a few, like the advice the elder brother gave, okay, as well as disciplining your mind. Okay, Job said he made a covenant with his eyes, lest he should look upon a mate. Now, I'm not telling you that you can't look. No, yeah, you a man. You do what you want to do. All right, this is all advice. Okay. Um, so the next precept is also in the book of Sirach, chapter 26, verse 15. Now it says here, a shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. So let's do something here. Let's look up a few of these words. Let's look up shamefaced definition. Now, shamefaced says feeling or expressing shame or embarrassment. So a shamefaced woman, what it means is if somebody's embarrassed, somebody won't do something that will make them feel embarrassed. So when you look at the boldness of a lot of these women today, they're not shamefaced because they're not embarrassed or ashamed to do a lot of the things that they do. And that leads them to be so bold that it's unattractive. Okay? They lose that feminine touch. Men are made to be bold, to go out there and do what they have to do. Okay? That, masculine energy, testosterone, it propels that. So if a woman who is not made to do that is off that, then there's some limiters that that she got, they're not working anymore. Okay, and you lose attraction. So we see shamefaced. The next one was continent. Let me see, I believe that's what it said. Yep, continent. All right, I knew they weren't going to give me the right one, so let me rephrase that. Continent mind definition. So it's okay. All right. It says the definition of continent is having control over urination, defecation, and or sexual urges. An example of a continent person is someone who knows when he has to go to the bathroom and uses it. Okay. Well, we're gonna take that and apply it in the best way possible. Um, say it says here, her continent mind cannot be valued. In essence, her having self-control, knowing when to do what and when not to do what. Okay? You got a lot of women out here because one of the definitions was what? Sexual urges, self-control. Exactly. You have a lot of women out here who, when they go out, maybe a Friday night, a Saturday night, and they don't have a continent mind. They go out there. Oh, as a matter of fact, that's beautiful because there is a precept in the book of Second Ezra, I believe the 5th chapter, and it actually mentions incontinency. Okay. Oh man, hey, there's one right here as well. 1 Corinthians 7:5, defraud ye not one another, except it be with consent for a time. Now, Apostle Tahart in his latest video, I think it was in one of his most recent videos, I believe it was called Holy Convocations and something else. But I believe it was that video he went into this precept and he was going into, in essence, you may say your husband and a wife, you may say, look, we agreed to hold a fast together, so we're not going to engage in certain activities, and so we understand. Right. So that's why it says except it be with consent for a time. So we both agree we ain't gonna do it, and we understand. We have come to an understanding, an agreement. It says that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again. So after it's done, you do what you got to do. You want to slam her through whatever. All right. But it says that Satan tempt you not for your what? Incontinency. So here is where we're using context clues. We know what it means, but we're using context clues to get a better understanding or a more full definition. So we can see the way the word incontinency is being used in this context. And we know that the word we were originally looking for was what? Continent. What is incontinency? The opposite, right? If you are somebody is competent and somebody is incompetent, they're the opposite, right? So, or in meaning not. So in this sense, Satan can tempt you for Satan tempt you not for your incontinency, your lack of self-control, which would lead you to believe that the opposite of lacking self-control would be what? Having self-control. But the precept that I was looking for is Second Ezra 5 and 10. And here it goes into, well, 5 and 9, but it goes into let's read Second Ezra 5 and 9. It says, and salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and incontinency be multiplied upon the earth. So the lack of self-control, being self-willed, doing whatever you want to do, not having control over yourself to know when to do what. See, so when you come here to Ecclesiasticus 26 and 15, a shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace because she's shamefaced and she's faithful. And her continent, her well-ordered, her self-controlled mind cannot be valued because it's very beneficial. All right. So the next precept, and these are things, I mean, these are ways, that help you when you're studying. If you don't know a word and you look it up and you still can't get a good enough understanding of what it means, then don't just look up a definition of a word. Look up the context. Look up how is that word used. Look at different sentences in which they use that word. Maybe word search that word in the scriptures, and you'll get an understanding of, oh, okay, this is how you use that word. Okay, so based on the definition I got and the context clues and how the word is used, I got a better understanding of what the word means. So I can now substitute that meaning into the first sentence I read and get a better understanding of what I was reading. All right, so maybe I should have started up at the previous verse, but we can read that anyway. Sirach 26 and 14. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed, a continent mind. Why? Because that is something that it's very hard to come by, especially now today. Why? Because women are not men and women, society as a whole. But right now, the talking point I'm dealing with is women, and they're not raised, or it's not promoted in society, especially Babylon, to have a mind well instructed. Because a mind well instructed leads to a well ordered people. And guess what? The rulers of the darkness of this world don't want us to be well ordered. So what they promote that is exposed to us, or that we're exposed to, it's not going to be something that promotes, a silent or loving woman or a faithful woman. So even to remain that way is a fight. The same way how it is for us to remain righteous or to strive for righteousness is a fight. And that's why there's nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed, because that's hard to come by. But once you get it, it brings so much peace. No, you're not fighting, you're not arguing all the time. There's not, even if you don't see eye to eye, she's not gonna try to override you. She doesn't agree with you. Well, guess what? She still gotta go with what you say. But in today, no, 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 I don't agree with you, so F that. You gotta do what I say, or this or that, or yeah, you don't want to put yourself in a position where a woman has power over you. And what I mean by that is, maybe, she may be able to say, oh, well, because I don't feel this way about you anymore, give me back my this, or I bought this, or I did this, so I get to do this. You don't really want to put yourself in that situation. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have? The book of Sirach, chapter 9, verse 5. Here we go. Now it says, gaze not on a maid, and we brought out the definition of the word gaze earlier. It says, gaze not on a maid that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. So now what does this mean? When you look at a woman, what are those things that are precious in her that will get you just by looking at her? Because when you gaze at somebody, it doesn't mean you're able to tell their whole history. No, when you gaze at somebody, you're staring at them, but it's observation. Okay, you're observing what you can see, or maybe what you can hear. So, what are precious things that will cause a man to fall just by looking at a woman? We mentioned earlier her body, her look, all right, them cheeks, the chest, the whatever, the tone, the skin tone, whatever it is. I'll give you an example. King David. What happened with King David and Bathsheba? With Bathsheba means daughter of the oath, if I'm not mistaken. Bath is daughter, like Ban is son, Bath is daughter, and Sheba going to Shabai, which is the oath. So what happened with King David and Bathsheba? Well, he saw her taking a bath, right? And he gazed, right? He gazed, and he what he saw, he fell by it. He fell by the things that were precious in her, by her body, by her look, by what he was seeing. And the seed of adultery was planted in his mind, and that led to the act of adultery being committed. And that act of adultery led to the murder of a man. Okay? So you may say, well, how come the Lord didn't, the Lord might not have put King David to death? Yeah, he didn't, but King David lived a hard life. He didn't have rest. The things, when you read some of the Psalms and how King David felt, some might say, it had been better if he just slept. Because having to constantly be on the run, having an enemy that grieved you so much, and then the worst thing is it's not even somebody of another nation or somebody, it's your own son. Your own son. That adds to the grief. So yeah, King David might not have been put to death for committing adultery and murder, but the Lord punished him. Okay? And what he had to go through, crying, being, hey man, that's not an easy thing. That's not a light thing. Knowing that was your own son. And it got to the point where even Joab, was getting at him, saying, we've been rocking with you this whole time. You crying over your son's death? Like what do you think this is? The dude done try to kill you. We risked our lives for you, and we finally got the chance to put him to death, and you out here crying over him. You better get your ass out there, you know. All right, but let's see what else we got. All right, I have one more precept. This is also in the book of Sirach, chapter 41, verse 21. Here we go. It says, and this is a verse in the middle of a couple of other verses, but the point that I want to get is just one of the sentences or the phrases that was mentioned in this verse. So Sirach 41 and 21, it says, and to turn away thy face from thy kinsman, or to take away a portion or a gift, or to gaze upon another man's wife. In essence, these are things you shouldn't do, right? And so the last part right here, to gaze upon another man's wife. And this is where you see the distinction between, there's a reason the word gaze is used, right? It didn't just say look, it said gaze. Gaze, because gazing is more than looking. Gazing is when you staring with intents of the mind. Because if that was the case, then shit, the second you look at somebody, you go off, right? Oh, that's another man's wife. You looked, you done. But Lord, I wasn't even thinking anything. Well, you look, that's the problem. No, because what happens if maybe I'll give you an example. Maybe you're going about your day, and something happens where somebody screams for help. Maybe a man might be walking with his woman, and a dog is about to attack her or something, and she's screaming and he's screaming, help, help, please, oh shit, what's going on? And you hear the commotion. Well, what's the instinctive thing you do out of curiosity? You turn to look to see what's going on. What's all the commotion? So you mean to tell me It says, well, brother, it said to gaze upon another man's wife. Now, if you don't know what the word gaze means, you think it just means to look at. So the second this individual turns around to the commotion, he's going off because he happened to look at another, or maybe you may be looking at a car and, and another man's wife just walks by across your view. Oh shit, there goes my eyeballs. I looked. No, gaze would be an example like a man, you looking at the car, the man is holding his woman's hand, so you know, yeah, she's taken. But as you looking at the car and they walk past you, your eyes suddenly go from the car and they fixate on the woman and they stay on the woman as she is walking with her man. And even though you know she got a man, those thoughts are coming into your mind while your eyes are fixated on her and how she's moving, and you thinking these things. You're gazing, you're staring with intent. All right. And you ain't supposed to do that. You could do it if now if the woman doesn't have a man, or if it's your woman, that's a different story because how does a man get a woman? You know, is he not going to look and see if he likes? Do you like, right? So if he likes, then he pursues, right? The scriptures talk about if a man entice a maid. Now he ain't well, he's gonna go blindfolded. No, this ain't no blind date. He gonna see something he likes, and he's going, oh, okay, all right. There's a scripture actually that says, if thou seest amongst the captives, one that you like, you like, right? She desire, you have desire onto her, then you go and you take. So, to gaze is not wrong, but it's wrong when it's another man's woman. Okay, that's the emphasis right there. If the woman is not available, that's a problem. Naturally, you feel a type of way. You see a woman, she looks nice. Okay, that's natural. Okay, but where you need to have that control is when the woman has a man, or if you don't know if she has a man or not, then you're the best way to go. If you don't know if she has a man or not, is don't even do it at all. You save yourself the trouble, or you go find out. That's why we talk. That's why we got questions, right? Um, but anyway, that's the end of the lesson. That was the last precept I had. So I believe I've made the point. Like I said, the video that the elder brother Amawan Gabar did, very, very good video. So definitely check that out. And Lord's willing, you were edified. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.